Hey, what's up? My name's Darth. We're going to learn how to mod Helldiver capes. Watch this video all the way through before you try anything. I'm going to go fast. We're going to go rolling real deep, we're rolling real left, just like it's NASCAR. I'm going to link this document in the description. This is the spreadsheet that I have all of my cape modding knowledge on. If I know it, it's in here. If I don't know it, it's probably not. You're going to need three main things. You're going to need Blender 4.0. I have the download link right there. You need Helldiver's 2 SDK, which lets us read and write patch files for the game. There's the download link for that. And you're going to need GIMP. Any version of GIMP works. I use GIMP 2.8. It's an old version. It's going to look old. I'm old and I am set in my ways. The functionality is the same. It's just going to be how does the application look is going to be different. But after you get those three things downloaded, you're going to open up Blender. Ignore that. Ignore that. It's going to look something like this. There's going to be a cube there. If you hit A, it'll select everything. Hit X, you can delete everything. You click delete. And now you're in the same square that I am. So to get everything set up, you need to first enable the SDK. Go up to the top left, click on Edit, click on Preferences. And then in the middle here, it's going to say Add-ons. And the way to install the SDK is you click the Install button on the top right. And you're going to navigate to wherever the zipped file is. Don't unzip that file. You need it zipped in order for Blender to be happy. And a happy Blender is a rare thing, but it's much appreciated. So just double click on it or single click and then install add-on. I already have it. You can make sure that it's installed by typing in Helldiver here in, if I remember how to spell Helldiver, jeez, and it'll pop up. Just make sure that this box is checked next to, the Helldiver's 2 SDK Community Edition. And then after that, at the bottom here, it says File Paths. You're going to click on that, scroll all the way to the bottom, drop down, click the drop down for Applications, and the first destination for Image Editor, we need to make it GIMP. If you don't know how to find your GIMP executable, you're going to hit the Windows button, type in GIMP, and then open file location. If it's not there, you're just going to right click on GIMP, and it's going to be the second option there, and it'll open up the Windows File Explorer. It's already going to be highlighted. Right click it again and go to open file location, and now we know where we're at. So click to the right on the URL bar from all the words, all the buttons, and hit Control C to copy. And then we're going to go back into Blender. We're going to click the File Explorer button, little folder here to the right of the destination, and then we're going to paste it with Control V to the top. I'm already here because I already have the path set. It's going to be GIMP hyphen the version number of GIMP you have .exe. Click it once, click accept, and now it's there. And now we're all set up. Now we can start modding. We're halfway done, kind of. So the first thing we're going to do now that we have all that set up is up here in the top right. There's a little arrow that I misclicked. And when you first open it, it's probably going to be about this size. It'll be under Tool. We're going to go down here and click on Modding. And we're going to slide this on out. Won't look like this, but I need to show you a few examples of what we're looking for to mod a cape. First things first, click and drag this bar all the way up. And then over here, there's a symbol of a clock. That's because the timeline is set. We need to make this an image editor. And that's done by clicking the image editor button. And now we have this. Isn't it pretty? Zooming in and out is scrolling in and out. And then middle mouse click will let you drag images around in the image editor. I have a bunch of examples. We need to go over a little bit of terminology before we go farther. There is a primary LUT, which is a LUT is a lookup table. I call these good LUTs because they are good to me, therefore I am good to them. This controls your color palette for your cape. Sometimes they look like this, sometimes they look like this, and that's all the more. Oh no, here's another one. Those are all good LUTs. They come in many shapes and sizes, but this one is ours. Not really. I don't think this one's ours. But they're mostly greens, blues, and blacks. Sometimes they're not. You've got to be wary of it. But where there's a primary LUT, which is what we just looked at, there's a secondary LUT, which is what we're looking at now. This handles all the post-processing for capes. All the blood, gore, anything shiny that goes on a cape will have to be set through here. This is a secondary LUT. This is also a secondary LUT. I also call them evil LUTs in my walkthrough. Here's another one. You can kind of see this one. This one's a really nice one. I think I paste this onto all of my projects. If you're running into issues with a shiny or glossy cape, go into the spreadsheet, and I have a download link to, I think it's this secondary LUT, and you're just going to have to overwrite it. We'll go into that after we get everything set up and we get rolling. Yeah, there's a secondary LUT. Do we have another one? That's the one we were just on. I think it's it. Here's another one. This one is much more diverse, cape to cape. They're very fancy with it. This is called a gradient. I believe this is a gradient mask. I'm not sure what it does. I really couldn't tell you. I've been tracking all of them, and they're all the same so far. I haven't found a cape that has, if they do have this file, it's just the same, it's the same file name. All of these are the exact same. I don't know what it does, so don't touch that. We're not going to worry about it. We're not going to sweat about it. We're not even going to think about it. And there's one more file type that we have in here called the icon lookup, the image lookup. It's one of the two. The image atlas, icon atlas. There we go. I got there. Oh my gosh, I remember things. This will there's 3 sets of icon atlases, and they are just lookup tables for images. We won't ever use these. If we ever do touch these, it's to disable them because they induce headaches. And so we're not going to worry about them. And we're just going to completely ignore them and pretend like they don't exist. And then finally, this is an RGB mask. This is telling the color palette where to apply the colors on the cape. This also determines the shape of the cape. So you can see here, the bottom is very transparent in the corners. I think that's Harbinger. This one, another example. I think this is Fury, where it is transparent. There is no cape, but the cape model is always going to be the same. We can make this a full-fledged cape if we wanted to, just by coloring in the bottom there. This is the normal. This is a full-length cape. It's very colorful. Each color on the RGB mask is assigned a color on the primary LUT. We'll go into that in a few seconds. And this is the mask that we're going to be editing today. And I think that's all the terminology you need to know to edit a cape. So we're going to clear all of our project, and we're going to start from scratch because it's been a second. So to unload everything, you got to click unload patches, unload archives, and now we're back to square one. You haven't done anything yet, but after you do stuff and you want to start a new project, you have to click those 2 buttons and then file, new, general. And I don't save anything. So this is what it looks like when you first start up Blender. And so I'm going to speed run real quick to get us back to square one. Or I guess it'd be square 2. Set image editor. And now we're back to a square that we were in. And so to open a Helldiver cape archive, the community has done God's work in finding the archive ID for every cape in the game. For now, some of them aren't working. I've been documenting the capes a little bit more in depth on my own. This is all the community has publicly, and in the spreadsheet linked below, there is also this sheet. You can see the cape name followed by the archive ID. So for this one, we're going to touch the Eternal Liberty cape, which is this archive ID. Ignore everything else. It's not real. It doesn't exist. So with Control-C, we're going to copy the archive ID, minimize the browser, go up to the top right here where it says manually load archive. If you hover over any of the buttons, it'll come up with a description if you ever get lost using the Blender SDK. And for some reason, if you haven't gotten to this point, just restart Blender. It'll probably fix anything that I've not told you so far. So we're going to manually load this cape ID. You can do that by Control-V, pasting it into the search bar that is to the right of the URL bar. I already have a patch made. We're going to ignore that and open the base file, not the GPU resources, not the .stream, but the base file. These are the 3 files that you will have most times with capes. But as long as it doesn't have the extension, that's the puppy we're looking for. That's the one we're bringing home with us. You can either double-click or single-click and then hit manually load archive and give it a second to churn. It's not happy always, but when it is happy, we're happy. And so while it's loading up the cape, we have time for small talk. How's it going? Weather's been nice recently. It actually hasn't. It's really cold out. It's currently 13 degrees at 4:10 in the morning. I don't sleep. And that's all the more small talk I have. I haven't seen the sun in several weeks. I'm not good at talking to people. Alright, it's loaded. Thank God. That was awful, wasn't it? And so now that we're here, we're in square 2. Now step 2 is going to be click new patch. That'll start a new patch for us. Who would have thought about that? Crazy, right? And so the Light of Eternal Liberty has 5 files on it. For whatever reason, the image browser won't reset until you click File, New, General. Don't know why it won't clear whenever you switch the archive, but that's just the way it works for now. So now we need to import everything so we can read what these numbers actually mean, Mason. And so you just go and click on the import texture button. It looks like a download image. It's very misleading. It lies to you a little bit. It's kind of like a girlfriend. But anyway, now that we have all files, we're going to open the primary lookup table, the primary LUT, the good LUT, the LUT that looks kind of like this, by clicking on Image, Unpack, Remove Pack. Don't know if that's the way you're supposed to do it, but that's the way I do it. And now that that's done, click on Image again, click on Edit Externally, and now it'll open GIMP. Ooh, and while GIMP opens, we're going to open the RGB mask as well. That looks like this for this cape. So Image, Unpack, Remove Pack, Image, Edit Externally. And now we're done with Blender for now. Isn't that crazy? And so, if you've never used GIMP before, middle mouse click drags it around. Hold Control and scroll. We'll zoom in and out. Scrolling normally will go up and down. Holding Shift and scrolling. Shift plus scroll is side to side. So now that we're here, we have our 2 files. These are the only real 2 files you need to make a cape. And to explain it bluntly, our color palette is split up to 4 primary colors you can use on any cape, except Bot Slayer. Bot Slayer is the only cape I know so far that only has 2. It actually only reads these top 2 rows in the palette. So anything from rows 3 and 4, it won't read, and row 5 is always the back of the cape. So on the RGB mask, we can kind of see we already have a few colors going on here. This top row is always black. I'm going to color these in accordance to the RGB mask. This color palette can literally be anything. You can make it any color you want, and it'll work. And so row 2 is always red. Row 3 is always green. Row 4 is always this shade of blue. It doesn't have to be exact, but make it pretty close to the hex codes you saw on screen. And then row 5 is always the back of the cape, which I'm going to signify by making it pink, because it's really bright and really hard to miss. And so now that we have the color palette made, for the example, to export an image quickly with GIMP, you hit Control-Shift-E as in Echo. And then we're going to make ourselves a new folder called Tuttown, because that's where we're going with this. And after we're in there, we're just going to export it. These are the settings. Don't know if they matter. Click Export, and that's done. And so now, to make it easier to remember what the numbers mean, Mason, I've never watched that show. Don't comment about that. I'm just going to name it row 2 was red, row 3 was green, row 4 was blue. And just to show you that this pink actually doesn't mean anything, I'm going to put 5 here, and it's not going to be pink whenever we're done with it. And then black is going to be, you know, black in the background. But we can put a 1 here, just for simplicity's sake. Control-Shift-Echo will bring us up on the export again. Take it back to Tuttown, and we're going to export it there. Now we're going to pull back up Blender, and we're going to import, what was the primary LUT? We got to find it again. I forgot the numbers already. And if you ever forget the numbers for anything you just exported, you can just go through the Explorer and find it again. So primary LUT was 4630. There's our 4630. I like to left click on it first, then right click. And then we're going to import the PNG texture. And now we're going to navigate all the way back to wherever we were. What was it, 46? Yeah. And so now that we double clicked on that, you can also just single click and hit import as well. But now that we've done that, we've started modding. We're officially modders. Isn't that crazy? It's gonna have a delete button if you want to undo it, and there's also a shield. Any of these shield icons that are checked will go into the patch. So if they're not checked, they're not going to be included. They're not going to be modified. They're not going to get put into the patch for the game to say, oh, I should probably use this data. And so that's the basic example of it. And so now let's get our RGB mask in here, which is 70737, and we see that it's not on the list. And that's because sometimes the SDK renames the file to whatever the cape's name is. So in this case, this is our RGB mask. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. It's just quirky and random like that. So right click on it, import PNG texture again. We had the 70737. And now if you right click and this menu pops up, that's because something funky's going on. And it's not the 80s, so that's not allowed. The way to get this to like pop up normally is you just left click off, left click back onto a file, and then you have this menu back up. And that's how you fix that. So now that this is done, we're actually done with the cape. Kind of. I mean, we're done in the terms of the tutorial is over. Also, if your cape is shiny, find where your secondary LUT is. I have a download link for a default LUT, secondary LUT, in the spreadsheet under the troubleshooting section on the far right of the tips and resources. I can just show you where that is. It's probably going to move at some point, but it's this folder. The first thing in troubleshooting is, why is my cape shiny? It's down here. Most times it is the evil LUT. It is the secondary LUT that messes with it. It makes the cape shiny. And so to fix that, download the thing that I have in there from the Google Drive, or just open up the breach cape. The breach cape has a good secondary LUT. That's the only one that I know of. So this is 144.22, 144.22. Right click, import PNG, and mine is saved somewhere. There it is. I just have it labeled default secondary LUT. You don't have to have the file names line up. Doesn't matter. It's all the same data. And for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just going to skip the step where we see there's an issue, and then we're just going to fix the issue ahead of time, because I've already told you what the issue is. It makes your cape look like that. It looks shiny. And so now that we're done with that, we're going to click Write Patch, just to see if it works. You don't have to close the game. You just have to have the cape unloaded for the changes to take effect. And so since we have a different cape on, we can just load her up. Where is she? There you are. Why is the 3 black? What what happened? I don't know why it's black. That's very strange. I couldn't tell you the reasons that has happened. But here you see that at least the 2 is red and the 4 is blue and the 5 is not pink, just like I said. Just to show you what the RGB mask looks like. Yeah, the 5, it doesn't know what magenta is. There's not a 5th color. And the inside of the cape is all pink, because that's what we put on the 5th row of the color palette down here. Yeah, we see that the 1's black. I'm just going to walk you through it. This top row is always going to be the black on the RGB mask. Pull up the RGB mask just for simplicity's sake. This top row is always black on the RGB mask, so we can see that this is black. So it assigned this top row as its color, and it's still black, because that's how we did it. Now, if we changed the entirety of these top 4 to white, we're going to export that, Control-Shift-E, replace it, export. Nothing will happen until we actually like make the patch again. What's the primary LUT? I go through this like 9 times a day. 46. Import PNG. Tuttown. 46. And now we write it again. It won't update live in the game. You have to unequip the cape. And then you gotta leave the menu. And you gotta wait. And then you go back into the menu. And then we put the cape back on. And we see that it's entirely white now, except for the inside, because that last row is pink. And so now you can kind of understand how the lookup table works. If we make this red, we can make it literally any color. It doesn't matter. This color palette can use any color, but the RGB mask is always stuck to black, red, green, and this blue. I don't know why this green's not working. I could not tell you. It's so strange. I'm flabbergasted, frankly. I don't want to use green because we already have green on the RGB mask. It might be a little confusing. So I'm going to export both the RGB mask and the color palette, the primary LUT. We're going to write the patch again, just because. And at this point, I've memorized the numbers. As the 4th time I'm doing this tutorial. And so we hit write patch. Now we have to unequip the cape. Give it a second. Equip the cape again. And now we see all the funky colors. And the 3 actually looks normal. Oh my gosh, it's just fine. That's so weird. That's so bizarre. Why? Why is it normal now? I don't understand what the issue was. Now I can't tell you how to fix it because it's not an issue. And we left the inside of the cape pink, but now you can make these colors anything, but all the lines are always assigned the same color on the RGB mask. That's probably the hardest thing to understand when it comes to this. That is the tallest hill you have to climb over. Oh, I almost ended the tutorial without showing you how to do icons, because it is pretty easy to do icons. Like take this one for example. I'll show you how to show you the RGB mask and the color palette for that one. Also, Degabait, great mod, great armor there for the clones. Let me pull up the palette as well. What is this? The Helldiver's yellow CIS flag from Star Wars. CS new. I think it was a Tide Turner? No, it wasn't. Cresting? Yeah, it's this one. So this is the primary LUT for this cape. And the RGB mask is this one. Yeah, ignore that arrow. That's a path. That actually doesn't affect color. So you can see that. Well, let's just start with the green. We know green is line 3, and we can see that it's black. We can see the icon behind the cape is black. The icon itself is yellow, which is black on the RGB mask. You can see that. And the top line is yellow. That's where the color got assigned to. There's not really any other complicated colors going on this. I used a lot of repeat colors just because I needed it as a template. Like red is always line 2, which is also yellow. So red and green are the same color. That is actually no, green's not. Green's this 3rd row. Man, my brain's losing power to keep going. Black and red. Black is line 1, red is line 2, are the same color. So on this side, are they the same color? I don't think they're the same color. They look very different. That is strange, but you can clearly see they're the same color. Capes are weird. I couldn't tell you why this happens. I really couldn't. Sometimes it's just quirky and random like that, and you gotta like nudge it a little bit in the settings. If you want to change the shape of a cape, we can never add material, but we can take it away. Like this cape is the RGB mask for my Magna Guard cape, which I wasn't even sure was totally possible before today, but it looks like this. We can see that the black here is this beige color, and the arrows here that are red on the color palette would have been this dark green. But yeah, this is, you can make it any shape, any color you want. We can see with these other examples that I have in here. If you want to make a scarf, this is the rough shape that I've been using. It doesn't look too bad. This one's my favorite. I'll show you what that looks like on the shoulder. It's in here somewhere. I'm sure of it. This is what it looks like on the shoulder. Goes down to about the butt. But that's the rough shape that I have for scarves. I thought I had my template in here somewhere. Box made a template for the cape. Here it is. Make it look... There it is. How about that? You like that? It would be nice to be able to see it better, wouldn't it? Make new layer. We're just going to drop a color. This is the size of the full cape. So, if there is color in any part of this field, it'll show up on the cape. If you want to make the cape smaller, you have to make it transparent by using, well, the erase tool. And so if I wanted to make like half a cape, I would need to erase all this side and leave this side on, and that'd make half a cape. As you can see with the scarves, if it's transparent, it's not going to show up. And you can edit to your heart's content with that thought. You can also make a cape where it's entirely floating down by your ankles. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but that's a possibility. And one of the trade secrets that I found while doing this was there is kind of patterns for your brush. I use chalk to erase. And if I select the right layer, you can see how no two clicks are the same. It helps out a lot whenever you're feathering the edge. And that's how I just jived? I wiggled my mouse around towards the edge of the cape to make this shape. This took me probably a couple hours, so be warned. It also helps out massively weathering the sides. I just barely tickled it with the erase tool. And if you ever erase something you don't want erased, like if I wanted to fill in this hole, if you hold in Alt with the erase tool selected, if you hold Alt and left click, you can just fill it in with whatever the image used to have. You can't reimagine what never was. What a great philosophical way to explain that. I'm just gonna show you. So like you see how the edge of the layer is here with this yellow line. So I can unerase here, but I can't unerase over here because nothing ever was with the image, if that makes sense. Control Z, undoes whatever you just did. And that's it. That's all the knowledge I have. I think I covered all the bases. If you need more info and I skipped something, it's in this section. It has reference images for everything. Oh, icon atlas. Do I have... Is it an issue with the MagnaGuard cape? I think it is. Can we pull that back up? This is normally where I'll yell at production, but I am production. You can kind of see that there's logos on this cape. That is because you can scale. As long as the RGB mask is a 1:1 aspect ratio, as long as it's a square, it's fine. You can scale this up as big as you want. And for an example, I'm going to do 1024. That's not even divisible by 128. Who cares? We're going to scale it up. We're going to export it. We're going to throw it in that folder. We're going to replace it. We're going to hit export again. We're going into Blender. We're going to replace it by importing it with the PNG. And now we're going to write the patch. And now I'm going to pull the cape back out and show you that nothing has changed. It is the exact same shape. Everything's fine. And it's the exact same we left it. The only thing that I think changes with this, it's still not fully documented. I've stumbled upon part of an answer with it. And that is because whenever you make this bigger, we don't have an icon atlas loaded for me to explain this. So I'm going to unpack it. Just doing the same thing I did to the primary LUT and the RGB mask. It's been a half an hour of you listening to me to talk. Wow, it's late. So with the icon atlas, none of these images are actually on the cape. But the way the game pulls these away is it just takes the square of where the image is and it puts it onto the cape. And so the way to fix these showing up on your cape is to just get rid of it all, export it as its own thing. We're going to put it back into Tuttown. Export it. And then we're going to just import the PNG texture, which was 46. What does it end with? 17. And so now that that's done, if we put the MagnaGuard cape back on, it probably will still have icons because there's 3 different atlases. Yeah, it still has the icons. You can see it vaguely right there. That is an icon from an atlas. That is not something I put on the cape. That is also an icon from one of the capes that I did not put on my cape. So that didn't work in our instance. You'd have to find which icon set is applied to your cape, and sometimes it's not listed. Going back to the... I have so many tabs open. What am I looking at? I didn't close it, did I? There it is. I've been trying to keep track of the icon atlases for each cape. I might be farther along. I might be a little bit behind, depending on when you look at this. And then if I find notes about things that are an issue, like the Bot Slayer only supporting the black and red row on the primary LUT, I'll put it there. If there's nothing to note, then there's nothing to note. Like Unblemished Allegiance, you just can't use it. I don't know why. Neither of them work. It's bizarre. There's not even a primary LUT on this archive. That might be fixed by the time you watch this. It might already be outdated. Who knows? That's all I got for you. That's all the things that I know. If I learn more things, it will be put into this documentation. And if I don't learn more things, then this documentation looks exactly the same as it does in this video. But my name is Darth. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for learning things with me. And hopefully you learn more things than I will ever know, because you're cool like that. Thanks for hanging out. That's about it. See you.